I don't know, the movie just had no consistency, and then when we get to like the twist at the end, I was just like, what the hell?
I feel like they didn't know how to end the movie. Welcome to Camp Counselors, a more butter show where we discuss, debate, and inform each other about the best and worst campy movies out there. I am Mista GG, and I am joined by my co-host, Kennie JD.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here for another episode. We're talking about more disturbing film, which I'm actually really starting to like over the past few years. So excited to talk more about it.
Yeah, we are talking about a Canadian psychological horror film, Chained. Now,
Yes.
what did you look at anything before you watched the movie?
Other than the trailer? No.
Mm-hmm. No? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a very interesting movie. It's kind of I kind of took it like a roller coaster in a weird way. Because I don't think the film's quote unquote quality was consistent for me. It's kind of just all over the fucking place.
That's fair.
Yeah, what were your first impressions with it?
My first impressions was, well, I guess whenever someone talks about a movie and calls it disturbing, my first indicator is like, well, how disturbing are we talking? Because like there's this movie which is a bit tame on the spectrum of like how disturbing a movie can get, but I try to brace myself regardless if it's on like a list of disturbing film, for instance. But so when I walked in, I was planning for the worst, and then when I actually started watching it, like you said, there were some like tonally inconsistent parts, and when that happened, I laughed and I felt really bad about it because the movie's really fucked up. But there was a lot of situations where I found myself laughing and I feel really bad about it. So that was my first impression. This movie is accidentally kind of hilarious at some parts.
Yeah, if I were to give it a great compliment, it is for a content creator, it is content. This movie is content, and I would love to make my very own video on this on my channel talking about it, because it is.
I hope you do.
There's a lot. There's a lot of things where I would immediately, like within the first 10 minutes, my fucking like content brain was just like shaking, like, dude, you have to talk about this. You have to talk about this. What the fuck is this? I loved it.
So this is another movie that Mike sent over in the list of disturbing movies. Is this also one that you kind of found as like a film along the same vein as like Antiviral, or did you find this one a different way?
I just looked up movies like Antiviral. It came up for whatever reason. I don't think they're alike, but it came up.
They're
and
not
I was
at
like,
all.
Okay, this sounds interesting enough. I'm on board. Let's do it.
So Chained is a Canadian psychological thriller directed by Jennifer Lynch and based on a screenplay by Damien O'Donnell. And it's essentially a film about a young child who is kidnapped by a deranged serial killer and is kept in his home for years until he becomes an adult. And it's basically a show of him trying to escape the endless abuse from this kidnapper. And as this is coming out of my mouth, I'm sure there's people like, babe, how did you get anything funny out of this movie? And it's not funny in like a ha-ha type of way. Like, oh, fuck you, man. You got kidnapped and now you're treated like a slave. Like, it's not that. It's just like... It's just like certain parts of the movie, again, are not tonally consistent, so it takes you out of what would have been disturbing. It feels almost like Mommy Dearest. That's kind of how I felt when I was watching that movie, because that's about abuse in a similar context. Not quite the same, but child abuse. And because it's so oddly made, you can't help but laugh at certain parts. And that's where it is. In a weird way, this movie is bordering on camp. Hence why it's probably a great way to bring it here. But
I think it really, like, for me personally, the whole movie, that's why I said, like, the whole movie is kind of like a roller coaster, but the beginning, for whatever fucking reason, those first like 15 minutes, I was just like, this movie's gonna suck and I'm gonna enjoy every second of it because it's gonna be so shit, because there wasn't anything I was looking forward to. Every aspect, everything that was coming my way, every event happening, I was like, holy shit, this is bad. And I love it so much because it starts with a kidnapping scene, which is supposed to be terrifying and fucking give you goosebumps. And I'm sorry, it's terribly done. It's terribly done, from the writing to the acting to, like, shots are... it almost feels like they put in outtakes at points. Because, like, the guys... I don't know if you noticed this when they're in the garage. There's a point where the lady's screaming and the guy just stands there like an extra, like, 12 seconds for no reason. And he's not, like, intimidating her or staring her down. It's just like almost like you're ready to hear, like, a clapper off screen. Like, all right, now you can get to it. So fucking weird.
Like, I think the thing that I noticed more so than, like, outtakes, I noticed, going back to scripting, it is some of the most, like, mechanical scripting I've ever heard for this kind of, like, there's nothing that really brings you into the horror outside of, like, just seeing someone be, like, a serial killer. But, like, outside of that, like, when you hear the main killer, his name is Bob, which is also
strikes me to your heart as soon as you hear it, right?
It's like, and, like, Bob is this, like, tall kind of I don't know, maybe I'll bounce this off of you. Did he ever feel intimidating to you outside of him committing murders?
Listen, Kenny, you want me to be 1,000% honest with you?
Yeah.
As soon as he said his first line, I laughed and I was like, there is no fucking way they cast this guy. What? I'm sorry. Respect to him. I gained respect to him throughout the movie because I started to enjoy other parts of it and other parts of the acting down the line. Not entirely, but other parts. I was so confused at the man's voice to start.
Yes.
Because his voice in the beginning is not the same as his voice in the middle of the movie. And I don't know why.
Because at some point along the line, he ends up turning into Danny DeVito. I don't know what happened.
He becomes like a Brooklyn mobster midway through the movie. But in the beginning, I wrote down he sounded like a quasi-Russian, like Tony Montana type dude. Then he sounded like Cuban. And then he just went to the fucking mobster in the middle of the movie. I was like, what was the direction for this guy? I don't understand.
I was like, okay, his name is Bob. He has like 8 accents. and then like he starts, I don't know, like, because so the kid is here after his mom is killed, because it was him and his mom and they were in the back of a taxi, and he drives a taxi and he drives it away from town, kills the child's mom.
Yes.
The child's name is Tim, but Bob ends up calling him nickname Rabbit. Mm-hmm. And so for years and years, he refers to himself as Rabbit. He is Rabbit. But in the early stages of like forcing this child to be his slave, essentially, they do like the rundown of the rules. And again, a scene that is supposed to be so like disturbing and frightening was just kind of funny to me. And I was like, for like a demented killer, it feels like a lot of work to like have a child here and keep it alive and to do all those other things. Like, I don't understand. But everything that's supposed to be like terrifying from this movie is just a little bit off center. And because of that, it makes it funny. And I feel bad for laughing. And I'm so happy that when you said it was funny to you too, I was like, thank God. Because I was going to sound like a psychopath. No. I was like, this movie is fucking hilarious on accident.
I understood what you meant 100%. I messaged Kenny after when I was 15 minutes into the movie. I messaged her, and I never messaged her about the movies beforehand because you don't want to just spoil everything. But I was like, "Yo, have you watched Chained? Because I am fucking losing my mind over here. What? I'm so.
I had thought you had finished and gotten to the twist at the end.
No,
right?
I hadn't even gotten there yet. Literally just starting the movie. I was like, yo, this is fucking awesome. I love every part of this. It's so, even just like you said, I didn't even like stop to think about the fact that he had the child there and he was like, well, you weren't. He even said, like, you're not supposed to be part of this.
You're not supposed to be here.
I guess let me bust out my go-to rule book that I have for just child slaves. Yeah, so you cook for me, you clean for me, you only eat my leftovers, you bathe me. It's like, okay.
And then after a while, he ends up kind of treating Rabbit as kind of like a pseudo son, and he's like, my son won't be an idiot. So he gives him like a book that's like how to understand like anatomy and how the body works. And I was like, okay, like what? And so he slowly gives the child more and more freedom as he gets older until he gets into early adulthood. And you've just made this child who he was 9 when he got kidnapped, so he has no base knowledge of much. And you're like, let's make him more intelligent so that he can leave. Like, I was confused about why do you have this child? If you kill everybody else, what is it about this child? Now, my theory, if we're going to try to make it a little bit deeper than it actually is, there's a scene where he's driving a father and a son in his taxi, and the father is, verbally abusing the kid, and he doesn't kill them. So my theory is that he didn't kill him because he's a boy, and that in some way feels representative of Bob. But that's giving this movie a bit more credit, and I'm trying.
Well, I mean,
I'm not shitting on it. Like, I can tell it's trying, but
yeah, no, it sounds like we're talking about Possum. That's not what this is.
Yeah,
this movie, for me, it started to pick up the further it went on. And I was like, okay, I'm more into it. There are silly things. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stupid shit.
The kills are kind of funny. I felt bad.
The drunk girl scene to me was so just... Like, I don't usually cringe at movies. Yeah. But I couldn't keep watching. I was like, please murder her. Please murder her. Why are you making this poor actress do this?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I'm not I was like, damn, she was very annoying. If you're gonna kill her, just go about it.
Yeah, they were just letting her run with it. They were like, hey, just improv for 30 minutes. It's like, just murder her. Why are they looking at her? This is weird.
Like, why are you showing her to the bathroom? Well, I was talking about the girl that was like running around trying to figure out how to get out and just didn't go to the other door that she came through. And then goes up to the other imprisoned person and is like, how do I get the fuck out of here? And then gets stabbed in the back of the neck. And it was just so anticlimactic. I was like, I know that was supposed to be like really disturbing and frightening.
But
no. Because precision too, because he threw the knife.
Yes, I thank God you said it, because I was about to say, it wasn't a thing where he came up behind her. Like, no, you just hear a thump and you see him 6 feet away. And I'm like, oh. And that's what I don't like about this movie. They try so hard to build Bob up as this like lethal mastermind. Like, he's got it down. The kidnappings, the killings. He's so fucking precise. He's clearly like a trained assassin. But he's Bob. He's Bob who drinks Bud Lights after work, and I don't believe any of the things you tell me. In fact, when he first has the kid, he doesn't chain the kid up. He doesn't lock him up in any kind of way. He's free. The kid sucks. He's stupid because he doesn't try to escape. He never panics. It takes him 8 months to try and escape, and then Bob's waiting for him like, I could read you from a mile away, Rabbit. I see everything. I know everything. No, you don't, Bob. No, you don't. He's like, he's a lazy sack of shit who sits on the couch all day. That's what they show him as. But he's also fucking insane.
I had one note on Bob. I didn't take any notes through this movie. The one note I had is that he has the feeling of Ed from Ed, Ed, and Eddie, the tall one with no chin who likes butter toast. I was really at the place where I was like, this feels very Ed adjacent. And if you imagine Ed as a serial killer, then this is what the movie is. And it's a masterpiece.
Okay, so I'm glad you jumped off the cliff because I wasn't Ed. I didn't think of Ed. I was just like, what is this character reminding me of right now? And I didn't know what to compare him to. I was just like, I don't know. I feel like he's like a dopey person who's also dangerous. So I was like,
Vaguely
maybe
Homer
like
Simpson.
I was thinking like of Mice and Men, like what is his name, Lenny?
Lenny,
The
yeah.
big strong dude who's like not all there, but hey, he don't fuck with him though. He'll murder the fuck out of you.
That's actually
exactly
a pretty
what I thought.
accurate one. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
And I'm sorry. It's just those parts is what I hate. These little inconsistencies, things that don't make sense. Like I know they try to go for the whole thing of, you know, he's basically training him to fear him, training him to not try and leave. But Bob leaves for hours at a time every day because he's an actual taxi driver.
Right.
He actually does that as a job. And fucking Tim is there alone so often, and there's not more escape attempts, and that bothers the hell out of me. This podcast is sponsored by Jarritos. There are 12 flavors of Jarritos, including strawberry, mango, tamarind, mandarin, Jamaica grapefruit, lime, Mexican cola, and more. Two of my personal favorites, I'm holding right here, that's tamarind and lime. Delicious. They come in a glass bottle, they're made with real sugars, no HFCs, and all natural flavors. So go out there and get the Jarritos Fiesta Packs at your local Walmart to try every flavor. The link will be in the description to find your nearest store. Thank you, Jarritos, for sponsoring this podcast.
And also, how should I put this? Like, Bob isn't a very... I'm not trying to negate the fact that he murders several people, but there is an element of him.
He's not a bad guy. Is that what you said? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, what I mean is, like, especially as Tim gets older, I guess there's an element where, you know, we're supposed to understand this as like a psychological wearing him down, but not really, because throughout, as Tim gets older, he's like vocalizing that he doesn't want to, because there's also an element of Bob training him to be the next serial killer, I guess, or whatever. But throughout that, Tim is just like, nah. So it wasn't like he gave in fully to the whole, like, this is me, this is who I am, he wants me to be a killer, so I'm gonna be a killer. He was still, like, very much so mentally not with the shit. So theoretically, a person who is, like, exerting that he isn't fully wrapped into Bob and his lore and his, you know, endless intelligence, wouldn't that person figure out how to leave, especially because there's a point where he unchains him and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna stay here. And that works if we've seen him actually do the whole like Stockholm syndrome thing and really like lay into him. Even like times when he like yells at him doesn't feel particularly like heavy the way you would think it's supposed to. No. He's just like, no child of mine is gonna be stupid. Here's a book. It's just like okay, like whatever.
It just every time, well, at least one particular time that he yelled, I was just like, I felt so out of left field. Like they're like, you know, you got to be intimidating, dude. So we're gonna give you this yelling scene. It was when he was showing him the book, and he just says, "No, I don't want to learn it." And then there's just a pause. He's like, "I try to give you this knowledge, and you just fuck it all up." And I was like, calm down, Bob. There was no need for all that. It just so he gets up and starts fucking flipping shit. I'm like, all right, it doesn't feel authentic to me. There are parts
because it's not consistent.
Exactly. There are parts where their dynamic does feel authentic, and I actually kind of like Bob kind of trying to feel like, you know, I want this to be my son. I like that aspect of it. I think that's very interesting, and the way he even tries to make what the fuck's her name? Make Tim feel nice, like he's getting a seat at the table now because
Mm.
he's trying to get into killing as well. I like all that aspect of it. It's just
Execution.
yeah.
Execution is everything. And that's why I was thinking, I was like, okay, serial killer kidnaps a kid and wants to turn him into like his protege. And like even in the course of like trying to turn him into the protege, are we spoiling things? Are we taking it to spoiler town? Well, this is a spoiler if you guys
as long as we
don't
warn
wanna
everybody.
get
Spoiler alert if you guys are interested.
Spoiler.
I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad movie by any means.
right.
I think it's cool. I'm glad I watched it. But
Like
there
I
are
spoiled
just-
Possum all the way through because Possum sucks. But if you wanted to watch this one,
yeah. Click off
But,
now, go watch Chain, but spoilers.
but
Go
like as he's like being introduced to continue my gripe about him not being fully indoctrinated, like once he starts going with him to like kill women because that's who his prime demographic is. He only kills women because presumably he has some hangups about his mom because there was some abuse in regards to his mom and his dad. But they find a girl and he is able to use the things that he learned from Bob to save her.
Mhm.
And I thought that was cool. I did find it very interesting in the sense that it was basically used entirely to legitimize the entire like learn about the body thing that he's in a book for. Because it didn't shock me that that's where it was going. Because like, why else would he pull out a random anatomy book to show him?
Mhm.
But once I don't know, the movie just had no consistency. And then when we get to like the twist at the end, I was just like, what the hell?
I feel like they didn't know how to end the movie. But as far as the scene with the girl, which is supposed to be a pretty pivotal scene, like it's supposed to be
Right.
his first killing. And if Tim doesn't go through with the killing, well then Bob's gonna do it. Bob's gonna fuck her
Right.
up. So I think it was a cool idea. I'm sorry, there were so many points in this movie, and this was one of those points where it was so too predictable for me. Not like I'm so fucking big brain, I saw it coming, but it was like I think they just made it abrasively obvious that hey, like all he knows is the body. That's Tim's only specialty at that point. And he even says it, the line like right before, then he starts feeling out like a part of her hip.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so he's feeling out. He doesn't want to strike a vital organ, and he's supposed to pretend that she dies so he can get into Bob's good grace, but he actually keeps that girl alive.
Right.
I like that, but I don't. It's just so. I wish they didn't spoon feed it to us so hard, because then they try to make it. They almost. I feel like they thought they didn't spoon feed it to you because of the later scene where then they show the way it went down, and I feel like you wouldn't have that scene unless you thought you bamboozled us.
Right. And then also like there's a line when they show how it went down that is just some of the cringiest shit. When she's on the ground and he's like, you gotta act like a dead girl. I've seen a lot of dead girls.
Oh,
and she starts crying. That shit was so fucking stupid. I was like, are you fucking there's something like weirdly like because I also got this vibe that this dude was like he's very like thin and frail because he's been essentially starved by this guy his whole life. But there is something very like Edward Cullen-esque about him.
Yes.
And so like it was interesting to see it in this dynamic where she's just like where I don't know what that line was for. Was it to be like alluring? Was it to be like intimidating and scary? Like, why would you say that to the person who's about to die or theoretically could die if you didn't miss her vital organs? And you're like, I've seen a lot of dead girls. And it's like, what? Why are you telling? Why? Like, why did we leave this in here?
I remember that was one of the points of the movie where I laughed out loud because it caught me off guard. But you bring up a good point too. Like he's supposed to be this starving, frail kid that is beaten at times when he doesn't listen to fucking Bob. But he looks just like a character from Vampire Diaries, just with an open collar shirt. And
Yeah.
that's it. So you're right. During that, like, he's telling her, like, please, I'm sorry, I might have just killed you. I've seen a lot of like, it turned into like 365 days out of nowhere.
That's what
He's
I
like
didn't know.
whispering in her ear and shit. I'm like, hey, yo, what the
I was like, is this what is this? I don't know why you did this. And then and because of that, there's supposed to be this like connection between them. And so in a weird way, I was like, are they gonna like date or something afterwards? And as far as we know, no.
That pissed me off too. There was
I was like, why did
no
you do
closure
this?
between them whatsoever at the end. I thought at the end I'll just skipping to the end of that part when he leaves, I thought he was gonna be with her. Like they were gonna be a couple. And they weren't. And I was like, well, so okay.
What was that for? Like, why did we
like that was so intimate for no reason then? You would think, okay, whatever, sure.
Because as you'd imagine, he does end up taking down Bob. Sorry. Again, the name Bob is just like he ends up taking out Bob in like a fight. And he, instead of like continuing a life with this girl that survived, I guess she survived, because now that I think about it, we just see like her in the basement and she's still twitching, so theoretically she survives, but we don't actually know that. And
yeah, I think she played dead at first, but then, yeah, like we said, there's nothing else shown afterwards to be like, yeah, she's okay.
There's no like police that rushed the house or anything. There's no ambulance or whatever. So we just assume that she got out alive. But instead of like having anything closure wise with that, it goes straight to, oh boy, this is the part where it really lost me. I was like, I can't take this movie seriously. This entire viewing experience, I'm finally cracking, and this is the twist of the movie. Again, spoilers. He leaves out of captivity and he ends up being able to find his father. And his father has been remarried. It's been so many years. He has a new family. He has a new son. And they go to this house, and he's theoretically, we as the audience are like, wow, yay, he's finally reunited with his father. But then he's like, why did you sell us to your brother, Bob? And I was like, what? What the fuck? That wasn't what? He was like, we found an envelope with a check that you gave Bob to get rid of us. Mom died, and then they fight, and then he kills his dad. And I was like, okay. And then he just goes back to the house that was where Bob was at. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Kenny just made that sound way better than it actually was. That last part,
because it's so abrupt.
That last part knocked the movie down for me, because it was just, what?
Like they didn't plan for it, they didn't prepare for it, they didn't really hint at it, at least not that I saw. So it really did come out of nowhere. Like where he got this knowledge that his father was in on them getting kidnapped. There was no explanation for that either, as far as like why he would do that.
It would have been nice if there was like some breadcrumbs for us to be like, oh, but no, it was just like, huh?
The only breadcrumb they had, which isn't even really a breadcrumb, it was just kind of like a throwaway line, was early, like in the very beginning of the movie. The dad is like, take a taxi. Like, I want you to take a taxi. But that's not inherently a breadcrumb. It's just take a taxi, because it's like, it's easier to take a taxi. But that was it. And then I was sitting here just kind of like, it felt like an end that wasn't earned. I think that's where it all boils down to. It is like, you didn't earn this, like, this reveal,
twist at
so
the
to
end.
speak. There was just a line, maybe throwaway, where Bob was like, your dad doesn't miss you, but that also doesn't really hold up very well.
Yeah, I wouldn't count that as a breadcrumb, because he just tells him, hey, your dad remarried. Does that look like someone who would love you? Like, but that's just, you trying to once again condition somebody. Like, there's nothing out there for you. I'm everything you have. I don't take that as oh, maybe his dad had something to do with it.
Right. In fairness, I did think the whole time, like, okay, well, like, even if he does get away at this point, you're like 18, 19, you've been there for 10 years. Like, what do you do now anyway? So I wouldn't be surprised if he would have just like came back to the house. But like how they made that turnaround was just meh. Wah, wah. Not a great way to do it. But,
Yeah, I didn't really mind everything going up to the murder of Bob. I liked how Bob died too.
Yeah.
As soon as he got Bob in a compromised position,
Compromising.
I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, what you said.
Got him off his guard.
Yeah, as soon as he got him down, Bob started to do that whole villain thing where he's like, "You're not gonna do anything," and right before he finishes, just
He's
fucking
like-
knife straight into it. And I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, I like that
Hell
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, let's fucking go, rabbit." And then they ruined it with the next scene. And just there's so many unanswered questions, even though they think they're answering everything, they fucking did not. They left us in a worse position. He returns back to the home, and I'm sitting there like, okay, well, what about the girl? That makes no fucking sense. The way that the fucking wife of Tim's dad, I'm sorry, miss, horrible, horrendous.
She was pretty bad. Like, 'cause
so OD. No, please no. And the lines didn't help.
I was gonna say the lines were terrible because there's a part where he's like, "You sent us to your brother Bob," and she's like, "What? What? You don't have a brother?" And I was just like, "Oh God, babe, love, no, you don't have a brother. He doesn't have a brother." And I was like, Jesus Christ.
She even, oh my God. See, this is the type of shit I want to talk about in the movie review. But even worse, when he dies, or when what the fuck's Tim? I'm like thinking of like the most generic names right now.
Bob.
When Tim kills his dad,
Oh.
and the wife is there, she, oh my God, she looks over at her wedding photo with the guy and slams it down. And I was like, was that supposed to be a metaphorical thing? Like, I'm done with him. And then she starts destroying all their wedding photos so she can call the police and be like, someone broke in and killed my husband. Or
Right.
killed. No. Is that what the fuck she said? Killed my husband?
Yeah, there was a burglary, and I think my husband's dead or something like that, vaguely.
Yeah. So she just goes like, oh, someone broke in. So she starts flipping everything over. And I'm just like, I don't think that was necessary. I think you can explain, like, you had nothing to do with this, lady. Why are you?
Right.
Is she trying to get him out of it? Be like, oh, he's not the killer?
Yeah, I think that was it. Because she was like, run, get away. La, la, la. And I'm sure, like, he was probably abusive in their marriage, too. Like, he didn't just wake up one day and start paying for people to kill his wife and child. So, like, but even beyond that, it's just like, I just really wish they would have ended it with like the girl and him just trying to rediscover life, I guess, after an experience like that. Because I felt like they needed to like explain why they got kidnapped in the first place. But it's just like, I mean, serial killer just kidnapping people. I don't think we need anything beyond that. I think that's fine.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I guess there is the kind of loose end of, well, now is he going to go out and try and find his dad because he wanted to find his dad?
Right.
So, like, I get that, but this wasn't the way to tie that loose end up. I didn't. I feel like it just added way more goofy shit on top of it. And even just did more funny moments, honestly, just more things I laughed at. Like when the sun popped out at the end.
Yeah.
And he was like, Mom, what's going on? He looks over, he's like, I have a brother. It's just like, guys, what is... Let's wrap this up. This ain't it, guys. This is not the ending you want.
They really could have. I think a better ending even could have been like him going out to find his dad, but him being so traumatized that he just like doesn't even go up to the door and just goes back to Bob's house. I think that would have been like indicative of the issue that we have here, and it also wouldn't have given us this like Days of Our Lives soap opera wrap up. Like, who's the evil twin? I have a brother.
Literally, that's how fucking comedic it is.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
But I mean, it's even with all that though.
Yeah,
I still don't think this movie is terrible. I think there are some fun moments. Yeah, I don't hate this movie though. I kind of I wouldn't mind. This sounds weird, I guess, but putting this on like in the background or something at a random point.
Yeah.
But even
I
though
get it.
it's just like torture and murder and all those other things.
But like as far as those things go, it's pretty light on that spectrum. Again, when someone's like, "Oh, disturbing film," or even like, "Oh, psychological thriller," you know, it can run the gamut. This is a pretty mild in this. Someone watches it like, this is the most traumatizing thing I've ever seen. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. Like, I think it's on YouTube. So if it was that bad, somebody like uploaded it and didn't get taken down for like gore or whatever.
Yeah, as far as nudity or gore, there are maybe like tiny glimpses that you see. I think you see Bob naked for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also the whole incest thing that we kind of glossed over.
Oh yeah, we did. Right.
That scene.
That was. Oh,
sorry
okay.
for
So
laughing.
wait, I'm sorry.
No, God.
Right. Okay. The reason I glossed over it is because I knew I was going to laugh. And I feel bad because, again, if you haven't seen the movie, you're going to be like, this sounds horrible. But, like, okay, again, as a disclaimer, the movie is not funny content-wise. The movie is funny via execution because they show, like, why Bob is, like, really fucked up. And it's because his dad was abusive and like made him have sex with his mom. And I think the reason why he has, I guess, like hatred towards women is because she didn't protect him. She went to go placate or calm down their father. But I sound terrible. But like the scene itself happens and it's just it's like this weird like flash between that and then it's like Bob sleep and he's like
like moaning very loudly.
He's like moaning and
no, like you know what we said about his voice? Oh, like that's kind of
right.
Off. Picture that now in like just like a vocal vibration, just loud as hell.
And it's him like just in bed and him like having a nightmare. And again, there's no words I can explain to make this not sound traumatic and terrifying, but it's like you gotta watch it. There's something about the scene that's so execution wise shoddy that you can't help but be like, what the fuck is going on?
It had to be the most awkward thing to film possible.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Because they're like, the dad's like telling him like, get on the, it's almost like a weird, shitty, like sleazy porn film. It's like, get on the covers, get it. I wish I wrote down some of the lines he said. It's like, get inside your mother. Yeah, you like them inside of you, you slut. And he's just like, it's just like weird. He's not like stroking. This sounds weird, but he's like kind of like, just like, almost like giving like CPR to himself. It is like kind of like when you shock someone. So he's like kind of convulsing. And the mom's just like throwing her head back against the head. It's really
I know it's supposed to be disturbing. And I think if anyone else filmed it, it would be. But because it was so shoddily done, and then we have like him as an adult like having this nightmare about the event or whatever. But like everyone did such a bad job acting it out. So because of that, it was just like, what is happening? This feels very like almost like a shittily done weird Pornhub thing. And then like him having a nightmare, but it's also with his voice the way it is. I don't know. I dare say you got to watch it to know what I'm talking about, but also this sounds more traumatic than that's what I mean. I had to skip over it because I was like, there's no way. There's no way to talk about this. That does sound super fucked up. Again, the subject matter itself is disturbing, but if you see the movie, it's like, huh? What? What is happening?
Yeah, I feel it's like one half I feel bad because I believe the director said that she wanted to promote a dialogue about child abuse, which I'm on board, of course.
That's what they said about Mommy Dearest.
Yeah, it just when the execution's not there and there's just there's comedy there. I'm sorry, there just is. in the execution. There's not comedy in you know what the fuck I'm talking about.
matter.
Okay, I don't need to explain myself. Okay, it was a funny scene. It was a weird incest scene, and it was goofy as shit. That's my final thoughts.
Disclaimers are for bitches. Disclaimers are for cowards. No. But no, the whole movie, again, like I said, there is something. Have you ever seen Mommy Dearest? I highly recommend.
I've never seen Mommy Dearest.
Okay, so it's a really fucked up movie about child abuse from Joan Crawford, old Hollywood Joan Crawford, movie star, and her adopted daughter ended up making a book about the abuse she suffered from her mom, and then they turned it into a movie.
Oh no.
And when they made it into a movie, it was all over the fucking place. It was all over the fucking place. And so people, like, the whole point of making the movie and writing the book is because, like, nobody talked about, like, child abuse. This was in, like, the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. So nobody was really open about child abuse at the time. So it was, like, a really pivotal book, and they wanted to turn it into a movie. But by the time they got to a movie, they wanted to make Joan Crawford as a person, this larger than life person, because she was in old Hollywood. So they have this like super dramatic woman also being abusive. So in a weird way, it turns into the like soap opera-y, get my clothes, no more wire hangers, and it's just chaos. And that's kind of how I feel about this movie. It's like, I know what you were going for, but no, this was not it.
Yeah, even looking at some just like clips just on mute, it's like, yeah, I see what you're talking about. I get it.
Yeah. So, but you know, it got a 68% tomato meter from critics, 53% from 53% from audiences. I thought audiences would be okay. Maybe they also got the vibe that we were talking about, because I really thought maybe we were the assholes here. But I think somebody else might also feel the skewness.
Those are fair scores, I think, between critics and audience. I'm not mad about those. I think those make sense.
Yeah.
That was a 2012 film. I didn't even know that. I didn't know it was that old.
Yeah, it does feel rather newer, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
Like, visually, it doesn't look like something that looks like it happened 10 years ago. So that's cool. Maybe that also explains the kind of vampire-esque.
Oh yeah, maybe they're trying to play to that a little bit. Do you
just a little bit
have a number to assign this movie in terms of 1 to 10, 1 being tent on fire, 10 being s'more, yummy?
Are we okay? If we're basing it off of like whether or not it's a good movie, 5. But entertaining, I give it a good 8.
I think that's okay. We can do those 2 scores for this one at least, because this movie's content wise. I'm feeling a 9, and I'm very excited to talk more about this.
I'm super excited for you to get on that.
As just like a standalone movie, I'd give it like a 6, maybe even 6.5.
Yeah.
I think it got better as time went on. Even with the goofy shit, I was like, I'm okay with this. I'm glad this is one of the names thrown out there.
Yeah, I'm happy that this is one that we landed on, because we can't do both that were full on art house.
Oh, imagine we had 2 possums back to back. I would not want to record. I'd be like, can we reschedule, or at least not do both of them together, please?
We could have just been like, okay, never mind. Y'all just not getting a podcast this week. We're not doing it. But no, this one definitely was content worth the making. So yeah, I'm super excited to see that.
That was Chained, guys. You can feel free to watch that on your own time if you would like, judging off what we said. But as always, make sure to follow More Butter on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, and subscribe to the YouTube if you are watching it there. I am, of course, joined by Kennie JD.
Yep, and you can find me on YouTube, either on Kennie JD, or you can find me on the More Butter channel, where I do In Defense Of, which is my podcast about movies that didn't do so well in the box office or didn't make much money, and I decide whether or not they deserved it. So that's always a fun time as well.
So definitely check that out. I am Mista GG. You can find me Mista GG on YouTube, the Mista GG on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Camp Counselors podcast. And as always, do not forget to butter your popcorn.
Hey.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.